And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on a Tuesday night. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us part of your evening. We got a lot to talk about. Dodgers and Yankees. One more win for the Dodgers, and it can do it. Also, I think we've come to terms with what Russell Wilson has looked like and how the Steelers, man, do they look good. But we've also got a lot of truths to really unfold. If you haven't done so already, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell button. Keep you up to date on future and past shows, because we don't want you to miss out on every episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. That's no fun. So we got a lot to talk about from here. Week 8, wrapping up. Week 9, we're ready to roll from here. But I'll start with this. So I want to talk about last night's game. And I think it solidified a lot of stuff. And the only reason of it is because we know with who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. And I think they are getting a break for a few reasons. Russell Wilson, in his second game already with the team, this looks like a completely different offense compared to Justin Fields when they started the year. And we told a lot of people between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, Russell's capable of throwing the ball. Justin Fields, I feel like at times I'm kind of getting a little bit of shakiness there. But Russell Wilson, you saw, can extend the plays. Unfortunately for Justin Fields, it seems to me like he still struggles with it. But the Steelers, what we knew about them is that the Steelers, they're great defensively. The question mark a lot of us had going into the season is that did they figure out quarterback? Because Russell played like his absolute worst in the first 2 years in Denver. I mean, he had 24 touchdowns, 8 picks, not terrible, but Sean Payton wanted a different quarterback. I mean, we could clearly tell with the writing on the wall. So Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, in a player's culture, in what Pittsburgh is, because Mike Tomlin loves his players. He loves to get the best out of them, squeezes out every ounce of juice from a lot of his players so that they play well. Well, already in at least 2 games, Russell has 542 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's in the first 2 games. All right. So those 2 games were between both New York teams, the Jets and the Giants. And his rating is already over the hundreds. That's what it looked like in the first 2 games of this one. Let's look at the last 2 games with Russell in Denver. Both of them were losses. And he had a rating of 88 and 103. 3 touchdown passes. Had just about a completion percentage of about somewhere between 62 or 63. That was it. 2 touchdowns, no picks. But yet Sean Payton could not gel with Russell Wilson. Way too optimistic. Can't seem to kind of think outside the box. But this is turning into the Russell in Seattle, which is what we hoped he would have looked like in Denver. Why is that? Defensive culture, defensive coach, and also is able to get the best out of a lot of his weapons. That's what Russell Wilson does. He really does. I mean, think about it. When you look back in Seattle with Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, I would also say some parts of it, Tyler Lockett and Jermaine Kearse. I mean, he was able to utilize all of them. And what is he getting now in Pittsburgh? Calvin Austin is literally getting over 100 receiving yards. He did that against the Jets. George Pickens, you're utilizing him a lot. You've got Pat Freiermuth, who's looking very, very good. Russell is able to extend the plays when you know you need him to. I like Justin Fields, but my problem with Justin Fields, he just has the lacking capability in order to do that. But he has been accurate. He's barely been making mistakes. And you are seeing a completely different Pittsburgh Steelers team, which is what we talked about going into the season. You cannot afford to go into the AFC North and be mediocre at the one important position, that's quarterback. You cannot afford to be that. And right now, Tomlin looks like a genius. Seriously, he does. Because it now solidifies a lot of things to where Russell is playing at his absolute best. He's not feeling pressurized, doesn't have to be the savior of this franchise. That's not what they're looking at. That's not what they're asking him to be. They're asking him to be that quarterback where you go out, you make plays, and you utilize with who you got. So all I'm saying is that I think this is arguably the best thing that can happen for Russell Wilson. It took time. It seriously did, because people like Pete Carroll wanted him out. Sean Payton wanted him out. And, you know, you go into this game against the Giants and you go in with the Steelers. No, Mike Tomlin, he's a player's coach, rightfully so. I mean, why not? You know, and you know what's funny is that he has an awful lot of respect from a lot of players. I know we talk about the drama thing with what's happened, you know, in Pittsburgh in recent years, especially with Antonio Brown and even with Le'Veon Bell. But you know what, though? He does get the best out of a lot of players. Defensive culture or whatnot. He is capable of getting these guys into better situations, and he's capable of getting the best out of them. It's great with what Mike Tomlin's doing. It really is. I think in grand fashion, and what you see right now with this team and with Russell Wilson looks completely different than the Russell Wilson we saw in Denver in those 2 seasons. I do believe that after that, the Steelers are in fact a playoff team. They are. I think they've shown exactly the best of what this team could do, and they've shown us exactly what they are capable of doing. And it's working. And you're not asking Russell to do too much. This is what you need him to do. So I was excited about it. I really was. All right, I got a lot of games to unpack, but, you know, I'm going to talk about this pretty briefly. So, I watched this Bears-Commanders game, and right now things are not looking good for Shane Waldron, and neither is it looking good for Matt Eberflus. I mean, that taunting from Tyreek Stevenson, which karma is very real. Okay, listen, I like the Bears, but I do feel like in a game situation where you are number 1 and against a number 2 pick, you cannot allow that game to literally get like that, to where it's a Hail Mary away, and Tyreek Stevenson now basically batted it. He thought he batted it away, and then it ended up in a receiver's hands. I mean, that game came down to everything. But this taunting stuff and all the rest of it, like I've always said it before myself, is that the game's never over until the game clock is done. It's zeros across the board. But I do feel like in the coaching matter is that you're trying to get the Bears to be the best. They're trying to be the best team that they possibly can. And right now, it's not looking as promising. So I just feel like that in this kind of scenario and situation for the Bears with Caleb Williams and especially with all their offensive pieces, this is why you need to get an offensive coach in there. You do. And for the record, it's also been said that Ben Johnson, if in fact whatever happens with the Detroit Lions, because I know that there's unfinished business, but here's the difference. All right. The difference is that you look at a defensive coach who I've said Matt Eberflus, I would rather take him as a defensive coordinator before I would take him as a head coach because he brings the best out of his defense. But offensively, it's like you've got the number 1 overall pick and you literally laid an egg against the Washington Commanders, who the Commanders are good. Let's not get that misconstrued. They're a good team. They're a very good team. But it came all the way down to a Hail Mary at the end of this thing, and everybody's pissed. Everybody's pissed in Chicago. And you know what? You have every right to be pissed. And I just can't even believe it came down to that. It's remarkable. It's really remarkable. But I just think the Chicago Bears, they have a lot of work that they need to do. Okay. But we understand what the future looks like for Caleb Williams. But it's not going to look this better if you still have a defensive coach who you know right now has tendencies to pull the reins, but yet not keeping a lot of people accountable is the one thing that drives me nuts, because especially with that whole taunting thing, I mean, karma is real. That's no joke. And the fact that you literally let that happen and have that tipped away to where it goes right into the receiver's hands, what are you doing? What are you doing? It makes no sense. So I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't even believe it. But what a thriller, though. The Commanders are a very, very good team. I think honestly, they're gonna be that team that is going to, they got to go and get a corner. I mean, that's initially with what needs to happen here. You got to go and get a corner, and you got to solidify this secondary, because it's not looking as promising. But if you go and get a corner, it's a lot better. So, all right, good stuff. We got updates galore coming in at this moment. Man, by the way, the Baltimore Ravens acquire Deontay Johnson. I got thoughts and I got news up on that. But I do, however, want to talk about, because I think this is interesting. But the Cowboys right now, it's not looking as good. And I can tell you right now, this is a really bad look for Jerry Jones. So I've got a lot to really kind of get on my mind with this one. So lots to talk about from there. By the way, I've already got a scoring update just before starting the show. And it's already 2-0 Dodgers. Freddie Freeman with another home run. That is insane. There's no way to pitch against this guy. There's no way. Crowds up the plate. Clearly, just you cannot stop this guy at all. He's seeing the baseball like it's literally a beach ball. That's what's happening. And just it's really insane to watch. But Freddie Freeman is just somebody that is literally seeing the ball again and again. I do, however, have an audio for people to kind of keep up with the score from here. But, I mean, the end of the day, this guy is going to be the MVP. So, for our audiences out there and our listeners, here was the call.
Freeman cracks one deep to right field and gone again! Freddie Freeman floating in the World Series. 4 games, 4 home runs. You gotta be kidding.
Yeah, I think this series is over tonight. I don't even know what to think of it. I'm disappointed. I'm sorely disappointed by the Yankees. I mean, to have this happen, like in all 4 games now, against a guy who's literally on fire right now with the stick. I mean, this is bad. This is bad for the Yankees. And I think it just kind of comes to show, like, you are watching with how this lineup is looking like, and you can't pitch around this thing. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that, but I got more NFL talk also around the corner. All right, guys. Well, because sports is such a beautiful thing when it comes to the NFL season, the World Series, it could look like the series might wrap up and we might end the baseball season, but hockey season going around, the NBA has just kicked off. So BetUS has been busy, and I mean busy. One of the best sporting books on the market nationwide for over 30 years. BetUS has you covered on everything that you need to get on the edge of your sports betting game. Because BetUS, they want you to get the best experience out of their best award-winning sports book. They also want you to catch on some of the parlay bets, prop bets, and so much more, even the casino entertainment. And best of all, your very own account manager, just to ensure you are getting the best out of BetUS's experience. Okay, BetUS has been doing this for over 30 years, and it's been an amazing, amazing run, and they ain't stopping now, and they ain't stopping at all. They continue to give us the best bet lines. BetUS, when you sign up today, $50 or more to your deposits with 125% bonuses up to 3 deposits that match up to $2,000, which means triple the fun, triple the opportunity to get you guys into the action on all the daily contests for you guys to win big. Gambling problem? Call the number 1-800-GAMBLER or seek therapy in your respective states, because BetUS does not want you to gamble recklessly. They want you to gamble responsibly, get the best out of one of the best sports books right now on the market. That's BetUS.com, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com, and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
I cannot believe right now just how good you've got to be if you are Freddie Freeman. The guy is like literally on cloud 9 right now. Back here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, Jake the Snake Silva here coming at you. I think the series is over. I really do. This is right now, this is by far the worst I think I've ever seen out of the Yankees. They have no answer to this Dodgers lineup. And you know what's funny is going into this series, I thought it would have been evenly matched because both the Dodgers and the Yankees have very, very good lineups. I'm serious. I mean, we watched Aaron Judge during the regular season. We watched Giancarlo Stanton during the regular season, and we watched Juan Soto, who's also won a World Series. We've seen what he does. And right now, the Yankees have literally gone quiet this whole postseason. It's not good. And this is the most important part right now where you cannot afford this team to be that bad. Aaron Judge right now in this postseason is batting 140. Okay. Shohei Ohtani has not been hitting as great as he has, but you know what? He is contributing. I mean, Mookie Betts is having a heck of a postseason. Freddie Freeman already just hit his 4th straight home run in the World Series. I have no answer for this. I mean, this is who the Dodgers are. This is what they've put together. And you know what, for the record, because the Dodgers have been so decimated with injuries on their starting rotation that their bullpen is willing to do any and everything to make this work, to go and win a World Series. And they're doing just that. It's already 2-0 in the bottom of the first. And the fact that the Dodgers are literally doing this right now just tells you, and a lot of people are like, the Dodgers bought the World Series. They purchased it. But you know what? Look at all the teams that are spending the money. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Padres. A lot of teams are spending money. Okay, you need to get with the program. And you know the people that I talk to, like that I'm talking about that do not spend the money? I don't know. How about John Fisher on the A's? You're screwing over the A's organization and their fans in Oakland who will never see another A's baseball ever again. You screwed them over. How about the amount of times the Pittsburgh Pirates had traded away a lot of their starting pitching and then you land Paul Skeens? You cannot afford to screw that up, could you? I mean, there are a lot of teams that literally are doing this. And when is enough going to be enough? You argue and you get pissed and you get mad when the Dodgers and the Yankees, 2 of the most expensive franchises in the big stage in the World Series, spend the money because they're capable of doing that. And, I just think it's interesting. I don't know with how in the world they're doing this, but the whole story from the start to the finish is it's been Shohei Ohtani. It really has. It's Shohei Ohtani. And look at this. Freddie Freeman in the offensive comparisons this series has 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 5 extra base hits. You know what the Yankees have? 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 5 extra base hits, and 31 hits. I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, he is practically he is being the Dodgers offense in this series. So the fact that the Yankees right now are not playing at the extent they should be, I think is quite comical. But again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It is right now 1-0 or 2-0 in the bottom of the first. There's still time with this, but again, I just think it's remarkable right now with what they're doing. I couldn't even believe it myself. But, if the Dodgers win tonight and win the World Series, this only has to feel bad for Angel fans because they've let down Shohei Ohtani and now he's finally a World Series champion. The Dodgers, for the longest time, because they won the World Series during the COVID year, which was short. Now they're on a mission to win this thing since they played the entirety of the season. That has always been the heckle. So the Dodgers do it tonight, and there's a very good chance that they can. It will be interesting nonetheless. I think that, this is by far the craziest I've ever seen the Dodgers really do it. Carried up by their offense. Doesn't matter with as far as decimations to their starting rotation. The Dodgers are doing it all. And I think that's what we have to come to terms with. I'm okay with that. All right. Time now for the news.
This is the Hot Press.
Lots of stuff cooking up onto the Hot Press tonight. So we got a trade report. So it's coming out of Minnesota. So the Vikings, who lost Christian Darrisaw for the entirety of the year with an ACL tear, the Vikings have made a move, and I think this is a very underrated move to continue to protect Sam Darnold in that offense. So the Vikings today just acquired Jacksonville's left tackle Cam Robinson as just for right now the temporary replacement while Christian Darrisaw is in the injury report. Now, the Vikings also receive a conditional 7th-round pick that can go away based on playing time, while the Jags get a conditional 5th-round pick that can become a 4th-rounder depending on playing time. So Robinson is in the final year, of his contract at 29 years old, which is only paying him $16.25 million this season. So I think this is a very good quality pickup. And Cam Robinson had been very, very good. And Robinson, he started the Jags for 7 games, but was benched for 4th-year player Walker Little on Sunday against the Packers. So that's the first time in his career he had been active for a game and not played. And I just think it's pretty remarkable how that even happened. And Robinson being a short term, I'd say he's definitely a 1-year rental, but you got to protect that blind side regardless. So I think this is a good trade. I think it really does help out with the Vikings because they want to keep that offense intact. And I know Sam Darnold hadn't quite played his best in the last 2 weeks, but that doesn't disregard with what they've done in the first 5 games. Seriously, it does not define with what they've done from that point on. I think they've played it very well up to this point. You go and get a 1-year rental replacement for now with Cam Robinson. I think it's a very solid pickup, and I think the Vikings really are looking to make a bigger push in the postseason. All right, another trade that's also been happening. So the Baltimore Ravens, it's funny because a lot of people are like, the Ravens have no weapons. The Ravens have no weapons. Well, just today, the Baltimore Ravens, they have acquired a wide receiver, and they go and get Deontay Johnson from the Carolina Panthers. Now, what's interesting about this one, so the Baltimore Ravens, they send out Deontay Johnson, and this is pending a physical, but they send a 5th-round pick to the Panthers and getting Deontay Johnson and a 6th-round selection. That's insane. That's insane. So Deontay Johnson now headed to another team, and I think this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. Deontay Johnson right now is, in fact, having a pretty decent year, but it's going to be different. 30 catches, 357 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's averaging 11 yards a play. But when you plug him into a Lamar Jackson type offense, which is capable of throwing the football, capable of running the football, I think a lot of this had to deal with because in that loss, there were some drops. There were some crucial drops by Baltimore's receiving core right now that I think was pretty bad. So initially, with what they're trying to do is that they're trying to add up as much offensive talent as they can in the wide receiving department. And and clearly this is a very, very good one. So Deontay Johnson moving from a losing organization to a winning culture, I mean, this is a huge jump there. So I think Deontay Johnson would work with this. And especially when you've got a young kid in Zay Flowers that you're trying to make sure he stays consistent, he stays very, very well. I think this is perfect. So I think Deontay Johnson going to Baltimore is really going to boost up the stock when it comes to you need a reliable target to go and give you catches. You need a guy who really, really is going to change a lot of this stuff up because I just think the Ravens, and we've seen this happen time and time again, I think when you get an offensive player like this with Deontay Johnson, there's no room for excuses now with not having receivers because now you got one. Now you got to figure out a way to get past the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what? A lot of teams have been trying to do that. A lot of teams have been trying to figure out what is the secret recipe? What's the game plan that can throw them off? I just think this is ideally the perfect situation now. I think it's perfect. So, last news from here. Man, what a crushing blow for the Houston Texans. So it has been announced after just hearing about the injury to Stephon Diggs, and the injury report has shown that he has torn an ACL, meaning that his entirety of the season is over. So a crushing blow. DeMeco Ryans mentioned about it. The two-time All-Pro wide receiver who was ranked 7th in NFL catches in this season with 47 and was second on the Texans in receiving yards at 496. So they've been sidelined with Nico Collins. They are now sidelined for the entirety of the year for Stephon Diggs. So that means that a bunch of other receivers now have to step up. And that means guys like Tank Dell and several other wide receivers, at least younger ones. So John Mechie and like a couple of them, they're going to have to step up on this one. Not an easy situation to be in. And it's not an easy place to be in. But, I mean, that is a crushing blow. And you know what? I do think the Texans are a very good team, but they have definitely been tested this season. They have been tested in a big way. So, who knows? I'm not sure how the rest of the season might pan out for the Houston Texans. That is a crushing blow. That's really, really hard. So, well, we'll see what happens for them come the stretch of the season, but I just think that was a hard blow. Another receiver out. They may get Nico Collins, but I don't know. This kind of seems like it's pretty shaky right now, to say the least, for the Houston Texans offensively. And especially when C.J. Stroud, he's a very good quarterback. I love C.J. Stroud. But this has not been the easiest season for the Houston Texans, and I think they've come to terms with that. They've expected that, and this is kind of now the price that they're paying with losing a receiver like this. All right, that's been the news.
This is the Hot Press.
So a couple things to really kind of narrow down. So the Indianapolis Colts, by the way, they just made the announcement that they are benching Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. I mean, right now, the Colts, this is kind of a hard time for them right now. The Colts, since Andrew Luck left, it has not looked good for them at all. And the Colts now are yet again dealing with a quarterback issue. Since Andrew Luck retired, it had been Jacoby Brissett, It had been Carson Wentz. It had been Sam Ehlinger. It has also been it's also been Gardner Minshew. And now, like, Anthony Richardson getting benched, and this time for Joe Flacco. Man, Colts right now, since Peyton and Andrew Luck, they have not been able to find their franchise quarterback. And listen, Anthony Richardson, it's funny because there was a bit of a post talking about quarterbacks that have had a rough 2 seasons to start their career. It's crazy to consider who those guys were, because names like that, I'll give you a couple names. Alex Smith was one of them. But the problem with Alex Smith, defensive coach, they couldn't quite get it right. They couldn't. Offensively, it looked like an absolute disaster. Vince Young, the 2 years, had a very good rookie season, but yet could not capitalize on it. There have been several quarterbacks, even Geno Smith. Look at it. Geno Smith, when he was there with the Jets, I mean, the Jets are a tire fire organization, but then he finds his stride with the Seattle Seahawks, and he looks like a very good quarterback. I'm not saying you got to give up on Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, it's been bad, and at least in 10 starts. So already to starting the season has completed 44% of his passes, which is amongst the worst in starting quarterbacks, for 958 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 7 picks in 6 starts this season. Okay, in Sunday's game, he was 2 of 15. And before finishing the day at 10 and 32. He's a very good arm. But the problem of it is that he hasn't been able to unlock that potential where he is finding his stride. By the way, Joe Flacco, for as old as he is, has 7 touchdowns and 1 pick on 108 passes. And you know what's funny about this? Joe Flacco came off the couch for the Cleveland Browns and literally won a bunch of games. It may not have looked pretty, but as far as a quarterback leading an offense that we know did not look as great, we knew that it did not look as solid, but that's a pretty damn good look for any quarterback. And that's what I think is the hard part when you think of Anthony Richardson, because I know this kid has upside. I just don't know what's up. And a bunch of quarterbacks have gone through this before in the past. It's been bad, and I understand it. But that's the kind of thing that I look at this right now, and my takeaway is I don't think I don't think that there is exactly like, I just don't think right now the Colts, and I was pretty disappointed in it. I really was. I really thought the Colts would have at least made a big jump, some kind of effort, because I love Shane Steichen, the head coach, offensive genius, a guy that can turn a lot of these quarterbacks around. I mean, look at Gardner Minshew. He turned Gardner Minshew around, got to the playoffs before losing to the Houston Texans, and at least got them there. Turned a lot of things around, no matter how much turmoil it was. But the Colts, I know, have not been able still, since Andrew Luck retired, not find their franchise quarterback. And now Anthony Richardson being benched for Joe Flacco. And I mean, you got to get this kid to work. That's initially with what you need to do. You can't get him to work. That's not going to look good. That's not going to look good on any level. So hopefully they get this right and they turn this thing around, because you have to. You cannot not get this guy to work. You can't not find some way at all to get him to produce and to get him to work, especially when he's a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. You've got time to make this work. So who knows? It may be a good thing. I mean, we've seen this with Andy Dalton where he came in, and I know Carolina is such a dumpster fire up out there, but, I watched it where Andy Dalton came in, took over. Now, the team has been shaky because of their potential, but Bryce Young, I feel bad for the kid. And speaking of it, because I was up at Empower Field at Mile High this past Sunday. And boy, what a beautiful culture it is out there in Denver. The atmosphere was fantastic. The stadium was great. And you watch Bo Nix. So a lot of these rookie quarterbacks this year, because I love Jaden Daniels. I like with what I've seen thus far. It seemed like it was a bit shaky for Bo Nix, but it feels to me like he's coming into a situation where, I mean, you'll get a couple of those strides, and then once he heats up, he's a damn good quarterback. Seriously is. And it works. So I just think right now for a lot of these rookie quarterbacks, and the other thing is too, Drake May looked very, very well. I'll touch upon that subject here in a bit. Got at least a couple minutes left on the program. But I just think it's fascinating. It really is fascinating. Because when you think of Anthony Richardson in the draft class, I mean, those quarterbacks compared to Anthony Richardson, I mean, Richardson himself looks more of a bust than Will Levis, if you really think about it. I mean, that looks bad. But like I talked about, I think the best draft class, at least in my lifetime, that I have seen has been 2020 with Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love. 5 quarterbacks all hit. Now, we know with Tua, we're crossing our fingers all throughout the season and, of course, the remainder of his career, because that's one bad injury away from that thing just looking really, really bad. So, but I just think it's fascinating when you look at a lot of these rookie receivers or rookie quarterbacks, and you could just tell that these guys, they're just built differently. They're built this way. But I watched that Denver game in person, and I like with what I saw. Shaky at first, but you picked yourself up. You got a couple passes up there. But look, I do think Denver, though, they do got to go and get a receiver. I mean, after Deontay Johnson left, they got to go get one. Because I'll be honest with you. I watched little Jordan Humphrey, and I watched a couple guys in that game itself. Why is there so many drop passes? I mean, it looked bad. I don't even know what to tell you. But I just felt like, with what Denver looks like, that defense is very good. And yes, it is Carolina. It's a dumpster fire. But let me tell you something. The Chargers and the Broncos were able to get business done. And the Raiders, which the Raiders right now, it's kind of Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes right now in Las Vegas. And rightfully so. I mean, you got to tear this thing up. You got to go and get some draft capital. And I think Shedeur Sanders, you got to build an offensive line around him. So, but I just think it's fascinating. The younger the quarterbacks are getting right now, all these new rookie quarterbacks, and I'm watching all these quarterbacks in college. It is fascinating, and it's incredible to just kind of see the trajectory right now and where, both of them, where they sit on their offensive skill. So I figured I'd point that out there. But all right, you thought I was going to avoid this. I'm not. I've saved a bunch of rooms for this. So this is over. This is over for the Jets. I'm telling you right now, the New York Giants last night against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they know with what Daniel Jones is. He completed 24 of 38, no touchdown passes, 264 passing yards, and a pick. And Daniel Jones did not look that great. He did not. So, but they know this about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is on his 6th year. And yet the Giants still are finding ways to convince you that he's good. He's not. But he is your bridge quarterback for the moment. But they are going to get out of this deal. I just think you should have never, ever have signed Daniel Jones to that contract. I thought it was ridiculous. But, however, you do have a bridge quarterback. You could go and get another quarterback down the stretch. You can make that happen. But the Jets right now, this is clearly, arguably, one of the biggest sellouts I've ever seen in my life. Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old quarterback, coming off of Achilles heel. And the second that he comes in, this Jets team does not look that competitive. They don't. There's not a whole lot of camaraderie. Say what you will. I understand. Aaron Rodgers, 17-28, 233 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, up picks. But you lost to Drake May. You lost to Jacoby Brissett. You lost to this team. And they could not stop Ramondre Stevenson. So I just think, the Jets literally now have they have the same record as the Patriots, but they have one loss more in their division than the Patriots do. So what does that tell you? I just think the Jets, you gotta get out of this. You got to get out of this whole selling job. Because I'll tell you right now, Aaron Rodgers, since he arrived, has not looked good. He's regressed. He looks like a shell of himself at age 40. And he is not mentally invested. Okay? Darkness retreat, ayahuasca, the trip to Egypt. He's not bought into this. He's not bought into football. And yet he finds scapegoats everywhere that he's at. He just threw Mike Williams under the bus. You go get Devontae Adams, and now all of a sudden the stock for Mike Williams is not great. Not going to get the ball as much anymore, is he? So that really hurts. The other thing is, you came in, and Robert Saleh, who is trying to build a strong culture in the Jets, which players and defenses, by the way, one particular player, Sauce Gardner, loves Robert Saleh. Okay? Plays better under Robert Saleh. This defense, when Saleh was the head coach, okay, I will give you this. The Jets at that point, and looking at it, they have only managed to give up. The first week against the Niners didn't look great, but they've given up 17 to the Titans, 3 to the Patriots the first time, 10 to the Broncos, 17 to the or 23 to the Vikings, and at least 23 to the Bills. And at that point, it's a completely different team. Defense sucks. But you know what? This is all accounted for Aaron Rodgers. Not good. And I will tell you what. He's a grudge holder. He's also somebody that has just become arrogant. He's become very rigid. He's become prickly. And this is who Aaron Rodgers is. There's no way of turning away from this. This is who he is. And you bought into it. Remember the pom-poms you were throwing? Oh, they're going to go 13-4. They're going to win the division. Josh Allen's got no weapons. Josh Allen ain't with. Yeah, how's this turning out now? 2-6. Yeah, so much for that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the reason Robert Saleh got fired. Aaron Rodgers is the reason you bring in Devontae Adams, but he is not moving the needle for this offense. He's not the sole particular savior and the missing link here. This is all on Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the camaraderie is not there. The chemistry sucks. And when are you going to wake this up? It's not good. So if I'm the Jets, I'm getting out of this business, because the second you bring somebody in that all we talk about is what he's done in his past, get with the program. It's 2024. Was that Robert Saleh's fault that they drafted Zach Wilson and it didn't work? Was it Robert Saleh's fault they had to turn to Joe Flacco a couple times, or Mike White, because the quarterback room didn't even look great? Was it Robert Saleh's fault that they couldn't get to the playoffs? And because of just the talent level, that defense right now is going to get decimated with injuries. And it's going to be a waste. I just don't think Sauce Gardner might end up lasting there for very long. I think he might end up getting out of here. Because you know what? As long as you have Aaron Rodgers in this building, the Jets, yeah, please. So, I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's one of those things that really worries me, and I feel bad for Jet fans, but you know what? I mean, this just looks like a revolving door of delusion. It really is. It's like an entire, it just looks like an entire rounding circle of just delusion. Okay, it's a carousel. And you got to get out of this. That's initially with what needs to happen. And you know what? This needs to be a PSA apology for every Jet fan that got sold. Because this is all on Woody Johnson at the end of the day. The fact that this is happening with Woody Johnson there, you're letting Aaron Rodgers literally predict this, is unbelievable. And you're letting him make the decisions. You're the owner. You're the GM. Not getting involved. What a shame. The Jets could have been a better team. I didn't buy into the hype. I had a feeling this was going to look like this, but I didn't think it was going to look a lot worse than this. What a shame. I feel bad. All right, folks, that's going to do it here for the Snake Sports Talk Show. Appreciate all of you guys for joining on here. We'll be live tomorrow, and of course with my co-host Chase, going to be with us here on the show. The show is sponsored by BetUS. $20 or more for your deposit catches up to 125%. The 3 deposits up to $2,000. Try it out for yourself. The best sports betting lineup and the best sports book in the country. BetUS.com, BetUS, where the game begins. SeatGeek, promo code Snake Sports for $20 off your first purchase of your first ticket to wherever you would want to go for your biggest experience, whether it's next sporting event, live concert with your favorite artist, or shows that attract you. Use SeatGeek. Download it on your mobile device so you can play in the App Store for free. $20 off by using Snake Sports. That is the promo code, so make sure to use it. Nick Silva signing off. Take care, you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow.